So you have a MODX site with friendly URLs enabled. What happens on the server when you request a page? This video explains it.
Disclaimer: the flow sequence shown in this video is simplified. Installed extras or the values of system settings may alter the process.
The server gets a request with this URL. First.htaccess runs. If the requested file name is not an existing file or an existing directory, the URL is rewritten. The new URL now requests the file index.php in the web root, and the request parameter q has the resource alias as the value. In the file index.php, a new instance of the class MODX is created. The function initialize is called with web as the context. In this function, the context is initialized and the session is started. The function _init culture is executed to set language and locale. The event on init culture is invoked. Then MODX fires the event on MODX init. Next, the function handle request is called. This function creates an instance of the class mod request and calls the function with the same name on it. Here the request parameters are sanitized. Then the event on handle request is invoked. The code tries to find the ID of the requested resource using the request parameter q. For this, the function findResource uses the context cache file under core cache context_settings web context.cache.php. The file contains an alias map to get the ID from the alias. If the resource ID was found, the event on webPageInit is fired. Then, using the function getResource, the resource data is loaded from the database and stored in a MODResource object. Next, the function prepareResponse runs. First, the event on loadWebDocument is invoked. Then an instance of the class MODResponse is created and the function output content called on it. First, the resource is parsed, using the MODResource function prepare. In a first step, only the cached tags are processed. Then in a second step, the uncached tags are parsed as well. For both steps, the function process element tags of the class mod parser is used. This function fires the event on parseDocument. Process element tags is called at least 3 times, and because the function can call itself recursively, the event on parseDocument will be invoked multiple times. After the resource is parsed, the event on beforeRegister client scripts is fired. Before script tags registered by extras or custom code get inserted into the HTML output. The event on web page prerender is invoked. Then the code adds the HTTP headers, ends the session, outputs the HTML content, and terminates the program. As a shutdown function _post process from the MODX class runs. The event on beforeSave webpage cache is fired. Then the resource is written to the cache. Finally, the event on webpage complete is invoked. What changes in the process when the requested resource is already in the cache? On the first request, the resource with ID equals 2 was saved to the cache. The resource has this template. Both the resource context and the resource ID are part of the cache path. In this example, the path of the cached file is core cache resource web resources 2.cache.php. In the cache file, the array key _content contains the half-parsed resource template. The cached tags have been replaced, the uncached tags are still present. The first part of the process is the same. In the function getResource, the code checks if a cache file is available. If so, an object of the class MODResource is created with the information from the cache, instead of loading the data from the database. And the event on loadWebPage cache is fired. When the resource template is parsed, the cached tags are already processed and only the uncached tags still have to be parsed. Then in the shutdown function _post process, the resource is already cached and doesn't have to be cached again. The corresponding event doesn't fire. What changes when in the resource, the flag Cacheable is disabled? In this case, no cache file of the resource is ever created. In the getResource function, the data is always loaded from the database, which means the event onLoadWebPage cache is never called. In the shutdown function, the event onBeforeSaveWebPage cache also never fires, and no cache file is written. What changes in the flowchart if the content type in the resource is not HTML? For example, if we change the type to JSON. The only difference is that the event onBeforeRegister client scripts never gets invoked, because no JavaScript tags get inserted into the output. There are more changes when the content type is binary. Let's change the output type to PDF, which is a binary format. The resource content is not parsed as usual. No JavaScript tags are added to the output and the corresponding event never fires. The event onWebPage preRender does get invoked, but as the resource wasn't parsed, the output is empty. Before the session is closed, there is a limited render process. But only the cached tags are parsed once. I added an error page to show what happens when a URL is requested for which no resource exists. In the system settings, we change the setting error_page to the ID of this newly created error page. Then we request a non-existing URL. On such a request, when the code tries to determine the resource ID from the request parameter, the function findResource returns false. The code then calls the function sendErrorPage. In this function, the event onPageNotFound is invoked. Then the function sendForward is called with the ID of the error page as a parameter. Next, the function getResource in the request class is executed to load the data of the error page. Then prepareResponse is called to continue the process. As the process gets redirected here, and then continued in the function prepareResponse, the event onWebPageInit never fires. I added an unauthorized page. Then I put the resource with ID equals 2 in a resource group with the name restricted. Anonymous users only have load permission for this resource group. Next, I set the system setting unauthorized_page to the resource ID 4. Now viewing the resource somepage.html as an anonymous user shows the unauthorized page. This is what happens in the background. When the function getResource runs to load the requested resource, the code checks the permission. If the current user doesn't have the view permission for this resource, the function sendUnauthorizedPage is called. In this function, the event onPageUnauthorized is invoked. Then the function sendForward is called with the ID of the unauthorized page as the parameter. This function again calls getResource to load the unauthorized page. And then prepareResponse is executed to continue the process. Not every one of these events in the flowchart is widely used. The most important ones are the following. The events onMODX and onHandleRequest fire quite early in the process and are therefore used for various tasks. For example, router extras like LangRouter or Smart Routing use them to switch the context on multilingual sites or sites with multiple contexts. Or the extra client config uses them to make the custom settings available for the rest of the process. On the event onWebPage preRender, you have access to the complete output. You can use it to replace certain parts of the response on every page. For example, extras like emo or obfuscate email revo use it to mask all email addresses in the output. The event onPageNotFound is quite often used as well. Extras like custom request or tagger use the event to forward requests to the correct resource. Extras like redirector or SEO suite use it to redirect to other resources.